Well, we're live. Who all's in here? Unfinished Project was here earlier. Dan E. Boyd. Lars was here. One-Eyed Cat, Pure Pontiac Garage. Wendy English. Wendy, as soon as you get home in from work, let us know. Auto Salvage Outlaws. Dizzy Izzy says, Merry Christmas to you all. Well, Merry Christmas, Dizzy. Twisted Mopar Garage. Dennis is here. Stand by for action. Rapid Transit J. Kim Fixes Things. Mean Street Mopar. See, JB's little shop is here. Huh? My mom is in the house. Heaven's Mopar Scott says, hello, family. I sure appreciate you all. Scott, we're all pulling for you on your, it's quite a Charger project, but we're going to be watching that with great interest. Colleen Tebow is here. Nick, the Van Man 90. Makes you wonder if there were 89 other Nick the Van Mans, kind of, but anyway, I'm liking Nick's project with his Econoline that he got. That's neat. 4-barrel Offie intake out today, so check that out when you get a chance. NSB Custom Cars. There's Levi's Backyard Performance. That's how you know the difference between an operator and not. If it's front yard performance, that's the dude on blocks. But the backyard performance guys, they get it done. There's Jabo. Thanks for coming in. Barrow's Garage. Mohawk 62. All right. Thank you for coming in, everybody. Old McDonald has a car. So this must be one of those high phosphorus blocks. Well, that's going to have a lot of iron oxide in it before it's all over with. That one in the thumbnail. One-Eyed Cat says all my stuff is backyard. Well, I probably have more in the front yard than the back. Sort of. Not the yard, but the driveway. Right on. Well, thanks for coming out. So because he had to give a presentation for some awards, Professor P is probably not going to make it tonight. Never say never. He could drop in, but that's okay. He is probably traveling as we speak. And Professor P got, I believe, 2 awards in the top 20, 1 in the top 10 for new product at PRI. I believe one was a torque converter and the other was the bell housing adapter, which I thought was pretty cool. And he had to give a little presentation on it. And that has curtailed him from being here this evening. But he left me a long message today to relay to all of you that, one, he really appreciated getting to see Patrick and Jackie Abbott, mostly Old Parts and Rust. He got a 10 of those delicious cookies that Jackie makes and shared them with all of his buddies there on the floor at PRI. And they, of course, agree with all sane people that those are some of the best cookies on earth. And he wanted to pass along his apologies to Levi, Dylan, Levi, and Brooke, and to Hacks Jeff, and a few folks that he was not able to get to meet with. He was just really tied down and couldn't make it happen. But he will catch up with you. And he suggested maybe Sunday. I'd suggested for the Wednesday Tech Talk to do the PRI update on the Wednesday Tech Talk live this Wednesday. So if you want to know what went down and what's new in the world of PRI through the professor's eyes, that will probably be the rundown. Will be Wednesday night Tech Talk live on the Slant Daily Garage channel. But anyway, I just thought I would share that because originally he had thought that this evening he will be back to do that. So it's coming. Just going to be a few days. So what do you guys have cooking? I am trying to make plans to finish out the year. December's always that worst of floor sweeping month, at least figuratively, trying to get the year finished out. December is a month where you bring in the least and pay out the most. So it's a tough month. But every time I'm out back, I keep thinking about how I want to expand the shop. I keep looking at that. I want to make some more room and have a glass bead cabinet. Get taxes ready. No kidding. Ooh, I get hammered on that. Levi, every time I've been asked that, it's always been the last Friday of the year. So that should be 3 weeks from tonight. Should be. I think that's December 29th. We should have everything finalized to announce. And like usual, we want to make changes that make sense. But remember that saying, the greatest country in the world, now let's change it? I don't believe in that. I think you make small, judicious changes to things that already work very well for the purpose of helping already well-working things work better. So I have some fresh ideas and things I think that will make the No Name Nationals better. But the last thing I want to do is just uproot it and replace it with something else. You can't have 25 logos, and you can't have 25 names, and you can't have reinvent everything every year. But I think we got some really good things you're going to really like for 2024. Wine Cat says still deer season, waiting on slicing chip steak tonight. He's working on that. Cool. Old McDonald says somehow I have to pay taxes every year, even though I'm Social Security, disability, income. Dude, you got to pay taxes on everything anyway. Nick the Van Man 90 almost had a 2-barrel 360 from a motorhome. It flew by on me. But the dirt merchant man wouldn't come off of it. Why not? What a bummer. What a waste. Guy wanted his, you should have given him twice the scrap price. Heavens Mopar says I got 2 headers, 2 doors, and the stove to install. Then it's game on. I will say, Scott, it might be worth a thought. Worry about your structure first and all kinds of stuff like that later. Just sheet metal and whatnot. You're really going to have an order of magnitude for that car. Because I have a feeling there is no finishing the car at all. So I would have a magnitude of order. Get your victory first, and then you got all kinds of time to hone it, to make it better and better. Main Street Mopar says, I've got a set of E Street heads for my 440, trying to get everything for the 440 this winter. Right on. Are you going to do that in the Diplomat? Is that the idea? So one thing I'll just say, this is just a general thing, and I'm sure that we'll talk about it in the announcement live for No Name Nationals, because a lot of us are just warriors of, taking stuff that's just not running years and that kind of thing, which is cool. We have to prioritize things like, and one of my favorite examples would be, I don't know if he's in here tonight, Indirect Connection, Jason over there. He had to decide, well, do I want to go with my Poly 318 or try the 440 swap? And he went back and forth and back and forth. And, a lot of us suggested keep it the Poly and just get there and make sure that you don't bite off that little bit too much and then miss by ever so slightly. And he did. He kept it the Poly. Turned out to be the right call. Had a great time. So what I would say is that when you do your projects for No Name Nationals, that's specifically, and again, I don't know necessarily if that's what Ken's referring to, but I will say specifically, just somewhere we sit, have those your order of magnitude so that you have a running, driving car. To make your order getting there, then your running, driving car, and then any refinements. And that usually is the hot ticket, because to be able to bring it in one state 1 year and then, improve upon it the next makes for a cool story. And I've never heard anybody say, I wish I had gone for the gold, and they didn't make it. Nick the Van Man says, I'm deer hunting with a Glock P80 with 124 plus P. Okay. Trying to make a slug gun out of a Glock. Deer hunting with a Glock. I don't even think you can do that in Virginia. I don't know. I'm not a hunter. Wendy's going to pick up some good chicken. We have a chicken joint in Radford, and I bet you I don't get stuff from there, but every few years, 3, 4, 5 years, the R&R Market in Radford, they pressure fry chicken, and there's nothing else like it. It's really good. Just a hole in the wall place, not too awful far from here. Ron English is here. Mostly old parts and rust. Glad to see you guys. Shepherd's is lamb. Yeah, I don't know about all that weird stuff. You people will eat haggis and things like that. Levi said, we want everyone to know we'll be at No Name at least, and we're going to compete 2 days. We went from 2 passes to all the first day, and now it's the second. All right, cool. See, there you go. And I'm not kidding, because when people, let's say this will be the 3rd annual No Name Nationals coming up here before we know it, it'll happen. And you will see people there who, let's say, maybe, and it's just a random type of example. You'll probably see people there who maybe were spectators the first year, brought a car the second year, brought a faster car, even if it's the same car, the year after. And when people say, well, gosh, it's a slow approach to have a car having finished, right? Not really, because a lot of them, if they'd never start 3 years later, would still just be talking about it. How do we know that? Because a lot of them have been talking about it for 10, 20 years. So this group right here are the doers. I was telling that to somebody else. When you look at a lot of these chats, they're not the doers. You guys are doers. You build cars, bring cars, race cars. And so people can say, well, you don't have pro mods. So you're doing something. And I think it's just a barrel of fun. I really wouldn't have it any other way. Mean Street Mopar says his D150 is getting the 440. Oh, cool. And an 833. Is it going to be a close ratio or the overdrive 833? Either way is cool. And there's the link to Indirect Connections channel, Unfinished Project put up. So I think everybody here knows Jason. But if not, go check him out. Guy's got a winning attitude. He is a winner. But this group right here is just chock full of winners. And I absolutely mean that. Barrows says shiny paint and straight panels can take years. If it runs, it runs. Right on. And nothing wrong with shiny paint and straight panels. Just don't let having a car finished to the end dream in your mind stop you from everything till you get there. Because most of the time it will stop you from ever doing anything. And if you get there and you've not done anything till you get there, then what do? Then it just goes downhill from there. There's nowhere for it to go. There's nowhere for it to climb. And the project just kind of dies. And then that's when I see a lot of those people just kind of becoming bitter and gatekeepers. And that's not what it's about. Yeah, Nick says his engine's going to the machinist next week. Oh, yeah. Nick is a really good study. So there are certain people in the community that I kind of point to because there's things, like qualities I think about. Like the Nelsons, when I see time management, Andrew Nelson, he could write a book on managing time. He's a study in that. That guy, it's amazing how much they get done. And it's because of the way they manage time. Nick is one of these guys that he already knows about how many days it is. And I bet Nick's already got a calendar laid out, roughed in, just waiting to put the final date on it. And I can tell you, last year, and I don't know how many people even know this, I guess Nick would care if I say, he actually skipped out on doing a 4th of July cookout because he says, no, I'm really going to make sure that I meet my goals and get my stuff. That's just what he wanted to do. So Hardcore, man. I wouldn't begrudge anybody for that, but it's like, wow, that guy's disciplined. If you look at the amount of work he got done for last year, it was really impressive. And he didn't do it in these astronomical thrashes, right? No, it was nothing like that. It was disciplined every day, or if he couldn't one day or whatever, but it was every day. And man, did that ever add up. That guy built a mountain with a sandcastle shovel, but he did it every day. Kind of like how Don English did. He started really early and got it done. There's no wrong way to get there, but it's like, I thought that was pretty cool. So he's working on a full-size van this year, and I really like where it's going. It's going to be a 306, looks like a 4-barrel and carbureted, an 88 model. He's going to convert from EFI to carburetor. Levi's saying we just ate some of those cookies. Jackie's cookies are legendary. Excuse me. Most of the old parts and rust. Patrick says, hi, Mr. Wilburn. I guess he's got to be talking about me. Only one Wilburn in here. Laughing because I saw an imposter Wilburn somebody sent me a screenshot of here a few days ago. You gotta be kidding me. So Rapid Transit J says to keep costs down, I'm most likely using a 360 Magnum rather than the 440 in the shell of a Duster. Yeah. I mean, nothing says you can't do 440 later if you want to. Mohawk is eating chicken with roasted red potatoes. Right on. Kim says, hey, y'all. One-eyed cat's got it scienced out. Our place is called Heller's, and it goes on sale by the pound at 9 o'clock Wednesday. Wendy gets there at 8:45. See, I like that. That's cool. That's slick. I found that there's probably 3 things you can always put out there, and the chat always starts engaging on them. I don't know why it is. What year you were born, what music you're listening to today, and what you had for lunch or dinner. And it will the chat will always, I don't know, I guess it's super common. Right on, Heavens Mopars. Yeah, oh yeah, I get it. You know what I found though is when you can't build though, having that plan so you can hit the ground running as soon as you do is a big deal. So I like that Scott's got it laid out and sketching it out. That's the thing. Twisted Mopar's been painting tractor pockets like no tomorrow. Oh man, Mean Street sets a close ratio 4-speed. Right on. Well, you can do as much gear as you want in the back. Make it work how you want. JB made it back. Cool. Kim's suggesting push something off a hill. I don't know what that is, but okay. All I say is if you push it off a hill, at least film it. Patrick says my junk 318 is still faster than anything on jack stands. Yes, it is. And Patrick's being modest. His junk 318 would embarrass most big blocks. Yeah. Patrick runs his stuff. Levi says there'll be a lot of fast stuff at No Name Nationals. Yeah, could be. You never know. You never know. Lots of quick stuff lurking in the weeds. Nick says he wants to be an asset to the event and something everyone enjoys, entertained by. Do it for the community, not just myself. I find it strange because I have heard people we know say, the only reason to do YouTube is money and fame. And I just fundamentally disagree. To me, it's about this community, and I enjoy it. It's what it should be for. And it's really, really obvious the folks in the community who agree with that, who are all about just enjoying the community. Kim says been pushing Buff Del Campo to the sub goal, one hard-earned viewer. That's right. And Kim, here's the thing. You want a perfect example of that? Look one comment below, JB's Little Shop. JB's Little Shop got to 500, one sub at a time. Talk about earning it. Yeah, nothing wrong with that. And then 1,000 just seemed like it was like that, because once you get to 500, 1,000 just seems to come a lot quicker. Dean Stevenson, where's Nina? Where's the other family? No idea. So I saw Mom Duck in here earlier and have no idea if her sister's watching or not. She's the only family I see in here. I have a family member with a 69 Super B clone, 440 car. Dark metal flake green, rally wheels, white stripe. Never see him in here. I mean, you know. One-Eyed Cat says, Danny boy, the No Name National New Vacation Getaway. Well, you know, I'm glad. It was we love having you there. Dizzy Izzy said it's a shame he didn't have a phone or interest in a channel for the first year of the Vagrant car, focused on the car. I know what you mean. There is so much cool stuff that pretty much all of us did before YouTube that just. I have at least one build, and I sent pictures to one of our friends, Tony's Hot Rod Garage, yesterday. I won't say anything about it, but I said, I don't think a single frame of video has ever been taken of that car. Got a few pictures. That's it. It's amazing how different things are now. Twisted Mopar Garage says, I've lost hope in any machine shop getting my new engine done for me. I went and bought a 452 rotator, so may go with that. Give up on machine shops. Twisted Mopar, there's I'm trying to get it worked out soon to have a machinist here on the show here pretty soon. I'm working on that right now. And I know he moves a lot of stuff in and out, so there's lots of, you know, talented machine guys. So Ron English needing a parts list developed for reference already, right? Yeah. Nick doesn't care about the money, just loves the people. Lifelong friends, No Name Nationals. Right on. I'm telling you, I do not make any money from No Name Nationals. I just want it to pay for itself. That's just really all I care about. That's it. Dr. Art's Hot Rod Rehab says, greetings to you. Colleen Tebow says, Victor from Functional History says, hello. He tripped in his backyard and is not going to make it to the live. Oh, man. Well, tell you what, if he got any little bit of injury with that, I hope he's okay. All things considered. Levi does it to show the average Joe what's possible. Yeah, well, cool. It's good. We see channels that start one way and wind up another too. But get what you want out of YouTube. As long as you don't want nasty, nefarious things. Like, I mean, there's some channels with all they want. We like car pictures. Yes, we do. I'll do a car picture on the live thumbnail next week. Oh, Levi says, you amazed me with what Nick did on the first fin. Right on. Yeah, no kidding. I gotta tell you, that build had so much value for people to follow. He built a really good budgeted 305, had a really solid budget, could tell you exactly what it cost him to do, had good performance, good drivability, got everything done, packaged into a Chevy Astro van with air conditioning. That build is really, really relevant. He's an all-star. I guess point being is a lot of people will look past things that aren't real noisy and don't have 2 feet of tire on the back, and will look past the van like that. But really, the van is a huge testament to what that guy can do. Kim is currently cooking transmission fluid on the kitchen stove. Slowly simmer all the water out. Why in the world are you cooking transmission fluid on the stove? Nick says, take a pass in the van. I I got to tell you, at an event like that, there is so much going on. I just I just need to just do that. I really do. I just need to do stuff. Everyone I've called backed up 4 to 12 months. Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. I hear that, Twisted Mopar. Machinists are they're all crammed up like that. Well, Mohawk, if it weren't for this community, we wouldn't know you, man. So glad you're here. Buff says Kim have a fire extinguisher nearby. I would agree with that. Nick says 2,800 with machine work, 1,500 on the van, and has cold AC. Yeah, 2,800 together with machine work. Yeah, this is the funnest car club I've ever joined. Well, yeah, that's what it's supposed to be, isn't it? It's supposed to be fun. Yeah, I just have a blast with you guys. That's what it's about. We have fun, and really, even more than that, is this community is real. Like offline, you see these channels. They visit each other. They collaborate when somebody needs something. Um, Man, we don't let all the geography stop us. And to me, that is what's incredible about this community. But the unfortunate part is that to have a community with all these cool people, you have to cast a net really, really big geographically to find them. Like you could never have this many cool people in this town. It just doesn't exist. So um, that's the downside of it. Chris 103 Customs is the 2024 NNN on. You mean is it happening? Yes. We should announce the date. I think it's the 29th, whatever the last Friday in December is. Should have an announcement on the date. Colleen says to get all the water out of the transmission fluid. But I mean, why is water in the transmission fluid? Dizzy Izzy, Dirty Mary, Crazy Larry for the big screen. Were you at the movie this year, Dizzy? Junkyard D says New Balance is not required for this car club. Right. Oh, nothing wrong with New Balance. Lots of us, I do wear them. I wear New Balance, but they're black New Balance, and I wear them with jeans. Because if you get the white New Balance with the giant blue in on them, you have to have a mesh back hat. It's got to have what the year or make of your car is on the front, and I think you need like one of those medic alert ID bracelets. And a Sam's Club card. You got to have all those things to do it. Nick the Van Man says Gumball Rally right by. I have a list of great movies that I've put a ton of thought into and got the license status for and everything. So, but that's not the question. The question is people have to turn out. Yeah, Ron's going to take a week off for the Notre Dame Nationals. Yeah, yeah. Oh, it's a week for me just being there. Dean says the world is a hemisphere. Well, if that's true, either you're in trouble or I'm in trouble. Justin Hill says, hi, how you doing? Most of the old parts says, I have a Sam's Club and a Costco card. Well, we have a Sam's in Roanoke. Costco is a long ways up the road. Sam's Club's actually a pretty good place. Got a few things there. Kim says, does anyone know where to drill a drain hole in a torque converter for a Ford Bronco? I would say don't, but that's just my 3 cents. However, Kim, I can forward your question to Mike Iben, the torque converter whisperer, works top line torque converter. He'd be able to answer that and give you more insight than what I can. Yeah, Ron says 11 days, 2 weeks. Exactly. Bracking it with 2 weekends. Yeah. Wow. Ron, you're going to think you're retired. JB says, wouldn't have gotten his truck there without the community, right? Well, this community just is what makes it worth doing. Auto salvages don't need it on the Ford. I tend to agree with that. I don't. I wouldn't want a drain plug to come out of that thing. Justin Hill, I hate this time of year. Me too. This time of year is rough. Now, Nick is saying a lot of the C6s had drain plugs in the torque converter. If not, he just sets them upside down on a bucket. Yeah, you get a lot of it out that way. You could tip that converter side to side for a year, probably, and not get all of it out. But yeah, I think what Nick says is spot on. Or I presume that what Kim's is in a vehicle, and that's why, but I would say, yeah, if not, I still wouldn't worry too much about it. Yeah, auto salvage is the same thing. You get the most drain that way, yeah, if it's out. Justin Hill, I have no money for Christmas at all. Man, this year has been just hammered a lot of people. This rampant inflation. I don't know what the number on inflation is, but it is horrific. It is bad. Mohawk is telling Dean the men in black might get him. Yeah, Kim says trying to flush it without removing the torque converter. Kim, I'd just say, just strain what's in the pan. Strain what's in the pan, run it a little bit, change it. That'd be my suggestion. I don't add any kind of additives at all to a transmission. Although I had a torque converter shutter one time. I changed fluid Valvoline Max Life, and whatever's in that did cure that shutter. I mean, years later, still no shutter. So, for whatever that's worth, I have experienced that before. Yeah, see, Nick says you run the risk of getting metal in the converter, right? See, and that would be, I wouldn't. It's just Mopar Joe says I don't think the juice is worth the squeeze on that. I wouldn't risk getting metal in the converter. Patrick says we had a rough Wednesday, so I took off the rest of the week. PRI on Thursday, and and playing video games on his Xbox. Well, cool. That's good. You're a hardworking dude. Glad you took a day off. Or Kim, if you don't want to take chances, just take it out. I mean, or clean it up. There's a guy on YouTube. Got like Monswig or something like that. It's in Maine, and he had a 904 torque flight in his 67 Dart with a 273 wooden upshift, which I think governor, right? He takes the valve body off, puts it back in, still won't upshift. So to get to the governor, he pulled the engine with the transmission on it, then takes the transmission off the engine on, yeah, and then to get to the governor. He didn't do any of that. I don't. Well, yeah, more power to him. He took care of the governor, and all it was, and I didn't even know this could happen. The snap ring apparently wasn't seated on the governor, and the body moved, and I guess it didn't quite line up with a ceiling ring or something. That's all it was. So you want to watch where your shear side is on the snap ring to make sure it grabs the groove. And if there's any doubt, any slop, use a new snap ring. But anyway, I thought that was interesting. What all he went through over a snap ring that wasn't completely seated. Dizzy's got a 6-inch whale tooth I'm going to use to make coffin grip handles. Wow, that's wild. Who's coughing? Dean Stevenson says the Northern Hemisphere is indeed a low stall converter. Sharp edge on the snap ring faces you. Well, it should face the groove because you're getting maximum surface area on the groove, which it's retaining the part. I'm going to use an old silver dollar to make a cross curve. Well, that's cool. Dean Stevenson says the problem is when you cross the equator, that gets complicated. Well, I'll take your word for it. I've never crossed the equator. Destroyer 1320 is here. He says, hey, everybody, I don't have any Harry Carey to offer him, but I can hear him saying it. How's it going, Eric? Last day of rifle season is here. Justin Hill says, you get my sticker sent. Yeah, you should have them, but the mail might be kind of slow this time of year. So, yeah, if you don't have them, gosh, it's been, what, a week? But I sure did. Unity Motorsports Andy is saying, I have lost the game twice unhooking the cooler lines. If it has metal in it, just pull the transmission and save the time and money. You'll waste a lot of good fluid on something that won't fix it. Well, there's words of wisdom from a guy who knows, because Andy has pulled the transmission in his truck. I think he's up to what, 97 times? Is that pretty close, Andy? Or does it just feel like it? Yeah, Mopar's Mustangs and minivans. I hear that. Hey, everybody, and you're funny. So Mopar's Mustangs me is Damien. You might be a little too young to remember. Do you know who Harry Carey is? Baseball announcer Harry Carey. If you haven't, you've got to look that up. Announcer for the Cubs for many, many years. If you've ever heard that, you know instantly. And he says it doesn't end well when there's metal in it. But you're also putting a lot more to your transmissions than some folks. So Justin Hill says, I hate snow. Well, that makes a bunch of us. We haven't had snow here yet. I did see flakes of snow on the ground in Bluefield, which is about 80 miles from here. But it wasn't even enough to completely cover the ground, and it was gone instantly. Uh, we'll have some snow here, I'm say this winter. Last year was an anomaly. Man, last year would have been the year to run the firearm classes through the winter because it was we didn't have a winter. Patrick pulled the 999 out of his duster 3 times in 8 months. Yeah. Kim says the issue is moisture, not metal so far. I'm going to tell you, Kim, this might be blasphemous to some people, but I'll just tell you straight up. Change what's in the pan, fire that thing up, get it good and warm. And if you still have, moisture like on the transmission dipstick, dump it again. Because if the thing runs fine otherwise, then it's probably fine. If it doesn't run fine otherwise, and you're trying to use, and you've got metal or some other known problem, as expensive as the fluid is, it probably isn't worth it. Dizzy said there's a big 10-pointer living in my back lot with 7 others. Yeah. I sold a guy 150 some acres a few years back, and it's just loaded with massive deer, bear, all kinds of stuff. He has trail cams everywhere and sends pictures out monthly. And it's unbelievable some of the stuff you get on those trail cameras. Danny Boyd, R&R to T5 Bell clutch 3 times in a couple of months. Oh, yeah, there's always those we pull the transmission out of a bunch of times in a row. Wow, so Heavens Mopar says the rooftop's going to be delivered to indirect connection from New Hampshire on Sunday. And then Jason will get it the rest of the way. Okay, cool. Figured out his firewall was ripped where the clutch cable go through. Ooh. Kim says low buck can't be pouring out transmission fluid. Right. That's what I'm saying. Change what's in the pan. Just fire it up, get it warm, and purge it again. And if not, then don't worry about it. Ron English says 1.5 inches of snow. Ooh. Glad I'm south of you guys. So, Levi, you run tractor fluid? Is that what you do? JB had a $700 Ford worked on, bought a used one, all as well. Yeah. Cannibalize the other for parts, maybe. Mexican Spec is here. Floor's rusted away and the torque box is ripped as well. Yeah. Ugh. Boy, that rust really gets a hold of some things. I did cab mounts in an F100 for a friend of mine not too long ago, and gosh, the passenger side, it had had one cab mount done on it before, and he insisted the place did 2 because 2 were on the receipt. I said, buddy, that was put on at Ford on the one side. You could clearly see where the other side had a slip-on cab mount, and the other side had no cab mount. No, man, they did it. They said they did it. I said, look, this is done at Ford. There's no question. But it was a mess. It was a rotted mess. Oh my gosh, that thing needed so much patching. It was rotted on the floor pan all the way up to the edge of the firewall. And then it's got a rusty spot behind the cab. It's actually not that bad with rust other than that, though. The bed is not rusty at all. The frame isn't bad at all, but that was a big job. Levi runs Schaefer's. Okay. I didn't realize that Lowe's carried the Schaefer's like that. There's one place here that covers it, and they do a lot of agricultural stuff. So I guess that makes sense, actually, now that you say that. Mexican Spec says, we don't really have burritos here. Yeah, okay. Destroyer 1320 donated toys for kids today. Love this time of year. I could see Destroyer 1320 Eric being a real Christmas person. I can totally see that. All right, Wendy. Wendy's the chicken place. She's going to let us know when she gets home from the chicken place. Since she didn't come home from work, she's going to let us know when she gets home from there. Wendy's good like that. Any exhaust notes better in these new Mustangs and Mobile. Well, I got to tell you that the people driving around in the second gear thing is the big deal now. So Dean says my family from Spain were over. Charles and Lillian found the weather cold after 90 and 110 degrees in Barcelona. Ooh, okay. Hey, Eric, thank you. I appreciate it. Do you know what fun that goes in? Yeah, my YouTube is just a separate account, and it goes back into the community. Orange paper this next year. You see it, don't you? It will get a number soon enough. A number will appear in 3 weeks, Damien. Don says, good deal, Wendy. Right. Well, Wendy's like our field reporter for these things. Thank you, Eric. I do appreciate that. And yeah, what I've gotten from YouTube has gone back into this community. I won't elaborate on that here, but I really do this for the community, and this is just because of how much I enjoy it. Nick wants to take a vote on mufflers for his van. Do the Flowmaster 40s, MagnaFlows, or turbo mufflers. What you should do, Nick, is do a video on the three and then follow it up with a poll. Because a lot of people aren't going to know the differences between the three. The EV charger exhaust note, that's blasphemy. The countdown will begin, JB. Well, yeah, it will. So you know what? This is all just bonus time right now. All of this. Seize upon it. Levi's saying Lowe's has some of their own. Okay, well, cool. The place to buy oil around here, far and away, used to be Walmart. Walmart was good because they buy in quantity, but they've cut back their offerings so much. The place to buy oil around here now, and probably everywhere, is Rural King. Man, you wouldn't believe the difference. By far, the best price on single quarts or 5-quart jugs of engine oil. They have every brand, every weight. The place. Patrick says you lost me at EV. Andy is saying Black Widow mufflers for the win, and I will say that's the mufflers on Casper. I mean, I'm assuming he hasn't changed from those, but remember, your engine will not sound like Casper just because you have Black Widow mufflers. Nick says I have over 100 mufflers, right? Levi's thinking zoomies. Maybe turn them up in front of the rear wheels, 4 on each side. Man, would that ever look 70s? Say that out loud. You never know. Nick might do it. Right, Ron English says we're already on a countdown. Yes, we are. The clock and the calendar wait for no one. This is true. Nick says I'm a Black Widow dealer. Cool. Since Andy's in here, I've already mentioned this to Nick. I want to do lake pipes on my van. Because I've not done anything to make it look better cosmetically yet. It still looks just as thoroughly awful as it did when I got. Well, I mean, I took the spare wheel cover off the back, and all that, but it still looks largely like it did when I got it. So I want to do lake pipes on it, and I will glass bead the wheels and do hardware kits for them because I don't know where all that went over the years, but man, it'll look so much better just with those two things. I'm going to do a grill from a 79 to 85 single headlight round headlight grill, paint it. That'll look really nice. And then, man, it's going to be a lot of money to paint it back a metal flake blue like original. But I may just do inexpensive hot rod black or something just to get rid of the hideousness. But man, if I did those four things, and put the original style of bumpers back on it. Those late 80s truck bumpers, the big bumper guards, that is not what it had. It had just the smooth, lower profile bumpers originally. So anyway, if I put it back just like that, that van would look like a completely different vehicle. Danny Boyd says, do the Corvette style side pipes with the louvered guard. That's exactly what I want to do on the van. Exactly. Turn it out in front of the rear wheels. Yes. There you go, Nick. Now you know. That's what I want to do. There you go. That's the recipe, Nick. I'm either going to do the metal flake blue, which is the original color. The inside, you can see it's a real pretty blue. On the outside, it's pretty rough. And then it had all that gold the conversion company put on there. But I'm probably, just for the sake of budget, going to put it back like just a hot rod black, just to make it uniform. And then the single round headlight grill, the lake pipes, and glass bead all that garbage off of the wheels and hardware kit, and smooth bumpers. And for that, for really not a lot of money, I can make that thing look so much better. Mohawk said I put a muffler on once and my lip reading friend was lost. I bet. Ron, when they jump that much, I don't always catch every comment. We average 5, 6, 700 comments an hour here, depending on the stream. Visions of running cutouts for next year. Yeah, well, whatever you want. I think Nick the Van Man has done a lot of cutouts. He does muffler work for a living, so he'd be the one I'd ask about it. Danny Boyd says lake pipes are what you see on early 60s customs, and they're what you're going to see on that van, too. Smooth chrome, consistent diameter. That is correct. All of that. Yes. I'm going to come out and just all the way back to the rear wheels. It's going to look great. That is one nice thing of working something like that. There's all kinds of room underneath to work like that. And I'll keep the steps that are on it just because they're original, but I'll take them off the van. I'll keep them. I always remember being part of that van, but I'll take them off because I can't use those steps in. Those steps are just something to trip over. I'll take the steps off. Ron English says Corvette Summer. Well, that's a pretty wild example of that era of styling. JB needs a 2-inch hood scoop of some kind. What are you thinking, like a cow scoop or something? Be what I would look for that, JB, is some kind of cow scoop. I'll tell you something else you might do, JB. That's kind of a little crazy, but you could possibly, and I don't know how yours is set up, but you might get away with making little adapters on your hood hinges to make the back of the hood sit up just a fuzz higher for now. And at least that would keep the weather off your engine, make everything clear. Your engine would run much cooler too because all that heat comes out that way. So you can do that too, at least in the short term. VW Beetles did that all the time to make them run cooler. Man, like a scoop going forward out of the hood on the back. And it would give clearance too sometimes, depending on what you had in the engine. Because it was pretty tight on some of those dual carb setups for those, the way they fit up on the sides of the engine. Danny Boyd's saying a C2 Corvette's one of the few cars that can wear wheel covers, wide striped tires, side pipes. I guess. Perhaps. Made that observation a year or two ago. Okay. Yeah, air filter's about an inch and a half over where the hooks are. Yeah. Yeah, you'll run into that. That's okay. A grump lump. Yeah. There you go, there, JB. Nick is saying he can help you fab it. And Nick, I know, doesn't live all that awful far from you. You guys are decent commuting distance, so you can definitely make that work. You're both great guys, so I could see that work out. There you go, JB. Yeah, reach out to Nick. See, Wendy's headed home. There you go. All right, deal is done. Don's going to have his chicken here shortly. I'm anxious to see what Nick and JB come up with on that. That's going to be cool. Nick does good work. I'll tell you what. He does clean work. Very conscientious. I had an exhaust leak on the van, and I didn't want to put anything into the exhaust system on it because I knew I wanted to do some lake pipes. So I'm like, well, I just got this rotten exhaust. I'm gonna patch it, and I put in a 2 1/4. But I'm like, you can't even hardly get under that van. It's so low. So I'm reaching over there, flashlight over here, trying to weld. It was the ugliest welding I've ever done, but it doesn't leak. Put that patch right in there. Levi's saying, can you run a short filter? Not sure what you mean on. One I guess is for $20, I'll be eating chicken for days. So there you go. JB says, Nick, dinner will be on Lars. He likes to cook on the grill. All right, Nick, got to have a report on that. Let me know how that turns out. I do need to come down to Middle Tennessee here for too awfully long, and we'll see Nick and JB and Lars, Dallas, and several of y'all. Dawn says Wendy will be home in 6 minutes. There's the report. Wendy's giving us a distance, an ETA. All right, JB, I'll send it to him. Nick, if you don't get it as soon as chat's over, as soon as the live's over, just remind me. Nick, how far are you from Technician Troy? Nick says, I once mounted a Trans Am shaker on an 81 T-Bird. Okay. As a Mopar guy, I just point and laugh. Different height filter, but I'm not sure for what. And there's all different heights of filters for all kinds of stuff. I'm not sure what you mean. Nick's got the courtesy car going. That'd be funny. No, man, I think that I just think it's fun. I love just collaborating with you guys. It's just so much fun. 35 minutes from Troy, yeah. A lot of talent in that area. JB saying figured cook fish balls. That sounds like some kind of delicacy people from up north would eat. This just seems like something. You can just hear that. Yeah, Nick sees him all the time. I haven't seen Troy in a while. I consider this the off season. Leighton Welding says, "What do we have here? You see it." We were planning to have Professor P tonight, but he is, because he's such a rock star. He has two products in the top 20 of PRI's recognition for new products this year. One of them is something with a torque converter, and the other is a bell housing adapter. I believe it's to put an A500 overdrive onto a slant six. So how cool is that, right? So he had a speaking engagement for that and was not able to get back today. So presumably the PRI update will be on the Wednesday Tech Talk Live. And that will be a lot of fun. That'll be a good one to catch. Dizzy said a bunch of reprobates and weirdos. Shorter air filter on JB Street. Yeah, you can. Well, okay. So there's several ways to do this. You can do a drop base air filter too, or both. You know, something to think about. Dizzy says, yes, that includes me. We thought nothing different, actually. Leighton says, just cut the hood. Yeah, but it'd be nice to put a scoop over it. Whenever I see that, I always am reminded of old Randall from Blown Budget Garage. He cut a round a hole in the hood, had the air filter sticking out about 1 inch up above it. I think he finally put a scoop over it, but it works, I guess. Dougster, if it's not Scotch, it's crap. Yes. Classic Saturday Night Live episode. Loved that. That was funny. Back when it was funny. Dakota's in the house. Glad you're here. Yeah, Doug is here. Nick's cut a $500 hood for a $30 velocity stack. He has his priorities in line. Okay, yeah. That cast may have been funnier than the original Saturday Night Live cast. Probably was, actually. I think that second golden era of Saturday Night Live was funnier than the first. A lot of talent then. I saw, speaking of that very thing, I saw an interview with Dave Coulier here probably last week, and I don't even know why in the world it was in my suggestions, but he uh, was talking about how he missed the gig on Saturday Night Live in the 90s because they said that he was too close to the same type of character as Dana Carvey. And I thought, yeah, not nearly as funny, but yeah, okay. So, but good for him, I guess. Phil Hartman was very funny. Yes. Shame what happened to him. Oh my goodness. But Phil Hartman was great. Phil Hartman did his sketches. It's hard to find video for. I should dig that up and put it on the community tab after this live. He had this sketch for a car that no one would steal because it was just horrendous on the outside, but it was luxury on the inside. Um, I need to find that and post it up. But yeah, Danny Boyd, eerie how Frank Sinatra died, and 2 weeks later Phil Hartman was. I don't know why that's eerie, but I didn't. I had no idea that coincidence either. Levi said there should be an award for the slowest pass that doesn't time out the clocks. Oh, make that the award from Levi's backyard performance. It was something like an Oldsmobile with a Pontiac. Yeah, it was goofy like that day. I need to find that. I need to find that. I don't know if that video is kind of obscure. There's another one that I really wanted to find because I think it has some value in it for some sound bites I wanted, and I can't find it anywhere. And it was David Spade. And remember that when David Spade would do the skit about it was like the infomercial guy Don Lapre or something like that. It was a spoof of a real life guy like that with a similar name. And he'd come up with a system to save you all this time in your life by shortening words. And that skit that everybody thought was so funny, people talk like that now. They shorten everything. We have given away all of our articulation to sound less intelligent now. Like they were laughing hysterically that he would say, I just got back from my vacay instead of saying vacation. That's what people say now. That has become reality. And you can't find that clip anywhere. I found a transcript of it on the internet. I can't find the clip. It's a shame. But I think I can find the goofy one with Phil Hartman in that car. Junkyard D thanks us for jumping in his live stream. Junkyard D had a lot. I got some still pictures for those of you who did not see that. This is this is really good. Let's see here. Junkyard D was, I don't know what was going on, but he was having some technical difficulties. I went to bed right after that. I crashed out pretty early. But the live stream had these bizarre looking distortions. Like there was one of them where JB's head was about 2 feet wide, and there was just there was some crazy stuff. I can find it. I have a hard time finding it now, but it was pretty good. Yeah, there was some kind of weird 360-degree thing on the camera, and it was showing all these weird angles. Everything was distorted, like you were looking through one of those viewers in a door. It was funny, but that's okay. That's what happens. You got to work this stuff out. I had some crazy, hilarious technical problems on the first live I did. I did it for 1,000 subscribers, and it had its share of technical problems, but it was a lot of fun. And it's just how it goes. Oh yeah, it was Colleen that sent me pictures. I was wondering. I was thinking, where did I have those? Yes, yeah, that was where I was thinking. Okay, so here's one of them. I'm glad you said that, Colleen. And here's another one. No kidding. This is what was on. It was just strange. But it was great. It was all good. It was still a lot of fun. And he booted back up for another live after that. I was not able to join. I stuck around for just a few minutes, but then I had to call it a day. And he wants to do Thursday. Like, yeah, cool. Theme is being a wrench. Okay. Crashing Thursday. Well, Junkyard D got his 500 subscribers, and so now he can re-register for No Name Nationals as an established veteran, and have the whole No Name 500 behind him and all of that good stuff. So welcome to the club, man. Yeah, Nick had some family emergency, had to roll out in 2023, but wants to come back, and I'm glad you'll be there, man. Duckster ordered 2 of the K&M stub stacks for Edelbrock. They sent you one for an Edelbrock and one for a Holly. The one for Holly was packed in an Edelbrock box with an Edelbrock part number. What in the world? That's wild. JB said we did a few things in the shop. Well, that's good. Dean Stevenson said his eyes are 265 thousandths of an inch apart. Wow. Okay. How do you not get mistaken for a coconut like that? Just asking. Mohawk says he usually goes to bed around 9 or 9:30 Central Time. Ooh. Yeah, nothing wrong with that. Just gets up crazy early. Yeah, sleep schedule's all weird. I don't have enough structure. Just it all depends. It varies. Although I have what I call my little gray alarm clock. My dog, he 6:30 this morning. He's telling me it's time to get up. So now it gets dark early. He crashes out and goes to sleep too early. And he wants to get up real early. So Tony's Hot Rod Garage is in the house. How you doing, man? We'll hand off here at the top of the hour to Tony's Hot Rod Garage. Kind of like Hannity and Tucker, do that handoff just like that. The parallax error is only slight for Dean Stevenson. Okay. Dean Stevenson, do you have a problem finding range? Dizzy's been stuck at 550 for you. Well, that's okay. Whatever. It's all good. I'm not hung up on the number of subs. Just glad for any cool people that want to come and hang out and all of that. There's Shopcat Industries. How you doing, man? Welcome to the live where things are fun and civil and all of that. Dougster says he'll play show and tell on the K&N deal on Tony's Live. So there you go. If you want to see Dougster's Wolverine Garage, where he's got his debacle of either misboxed or misnumbered Holly and Edelbrock stacks, that'll be on Tony's Live tonight, provided Tony's good with that. Just kind of playing it by ear. Twisted Dennis, 558. Yeah, and you hit plateaus and then you break past them. Just how it works. Ron English, 10 o'clock news for the weather forecast and up at 3:30 a.m. Yep. Tony's Hot Rod Garage, 49 in the chat, 26 likes. Well, nothing wrong. I mean, I'm glad y'all are here. Nick says 2,300 subs. Guess maybe my short. Yeah, maybe. Yeah, Tony, no one was nominating you, but yeah, sounds cool. Shopcat is such a courteous guy. He's greeting Colleen, JB, Danny Boy, Dean, Dougster, Mexican Spec, Tony, mostly old Par Trust, Dizzy, Twisted Mopar, Old McDonald has a car, Nick the Van Man. Shopcat greets 12 people in a row by name because he's good like that. Shopcat had one short takeoff and about doubled the sub count. Yeah, that can happen. That can definitely happen. Yeah, Tony's giving him a hard time. Tony's good like that, though. Hey, you know what I thought about doing tonight, and I think I will. We got 48 in here. Let's I'll get to it here in a little bit. What do I want to do? $47.5 people. Well, we got 49 in there. There's mostly old parts. Ron Ward, how you doing, Ron? Ron, I was about to give away a shirt. I'm gonna do it here in a little bit. Speaking is Ron Ward. Ron Ward probably gives out more shirts than anybody I know. Glad you're here. This is the end of the off season, Ron Ward, because I believe on the 29th we're going to be announcing the date for No Name Nationals 2024. And we got a couple of lives between then. And so this is just kind of the end of the off season. And then we're back to a little bit more regularly scheduled programming. I got some guests coming up after the first of the year. And we'll be back to a little bit more normal stuff. But this is a lot of fun. I love getting to do the freestyle hanging out like this. It's a blast. Ron Ward, the voice of the No Name Nationals. I got to say, it does mean a lot to people. They love to be able to watch back the video and see Ron Ward calling their pass. So I think it definitely adds so much to the event. It's certainly more than just when you're a spectator there. Tony says it's Ron's birthday. Happy birthday, Ron. Well, there's B&R Racing. J-Bo sneaked in here. Nick will register 29th if it's open at that time. Don't know. We'll tell you. It'll be open soon enough. Yeah, happy birthday, Ron. Shopcat needs to scare up a makeshift workbench. Already two customer chainsaws in the no shop and no bench. Well, you can do it. I'm going to be probably making a teardown table to do transmissions on just for that. I'm going to put the gutter in the back to drain it. Uh, I'm going to make that, get the height right and all of that, vise. Uh, I just want to build a purpose built teardown and build table. You can use that for a lot of other stuff too, but I like that better than the general purpose workbench because what I have on the covering on my workbench does not make it conducive to get clean enough to do transmissions and stuff on. It doesn't have that nice flat surface and all. So I want to keep it for, you know, control arms or whatever, that kind of general stuff, but have that table for doing more stuff like this. Be good for doing heads on too, actually. Tony says, I'm going to have a proper transmission build station in my garage. It's the last thing I ever do. And it may look rookie-ish or blasphemous or whatever, but I'm telling you, I've never built a transmission vertically. Uh, I know one thing. It seems like it's easier to do a 700 R4 that way for whatever reason, but I'm considering it because I don't know. It's just so much easier to let the gravity work with you than fight it, especially when you're trying to line up like 5 or 6 clutches. Uh, I'm thinking about doing it. I've never done a transmission vertically, but I'd like to. If you have the space shop, Cat, having workbenches that are separate for those dedicated things is a handy, handy thing. One general purpose workbench makes it a little, it's fine if that's what you have, but when you have one that you can just clean and wipe the whole thing down on and push all the oil into a gutter for something like that, it makes it so much easier. Bench with the hole, of course. Yeah, you have to have a hole for the input shaft, the pump stator, and all that. Of course, you want to have that. But I want to build one, Tony. And I'll tell you, I've seen some commercially that have an inch of grade difference so the oil runs to the back naturally, but I don't know if I like that. I think I want to make the bench flat, but and just push the oil to the back with a squeegee. I know that's what performance or precision transmissions does. I mean, how much you don't should get all that much oil out of it. It's a one-time thing that's just going to dump that oil, right? But I would rather keep it flat. I like it flat enough that I at least have a shot if I dump out check balls out of a valve body that they don't go rolling. Or sprag rollers. You know what I mean? Buff used an old door for a workbench and legs for stacked concrete blocks. Sure. Jabo said use stainless restaurant work table. I found one. The owner said I could have it and then just chucked. I'm like, oh, you killed me with that. Yes, I had one. And it even had a sink in it in one end of an 8-foot table. It was perfect. Perfect. You could use that thing for like a well for cleaning parts. Would have been perfect. Tony likes watching Richard work. Yeah. Yeah, I've watched a few of his videos on the 727-904 stuff. Buff's in a hotel, worked a long day, tired but not going to miss the live. Well, at least this live shouldn't be too awfully taxing. Hopefully, you can just unwind and hang out and watch and chill and all that. Andy says, hopefully I won't need a transmission tailgate anymore. Yeah, Andy does the tailgate rebuild. Most of the old parts, wrong Ward is exactly right. You can get transmissions clean in the bathtub as long as you don't tell the missus about it. That is correct. Nick is saying, I think this year I'm going to do a 351 Cleveland headed 300 for my 4-speed 1980. Wow. Tony says, you know about his new channel? No, not really. If you don't mind, send me the link. I'll check it out. Got to learn to weld cast iron for that. Yeah. I'm not necessarily a good welder, but I can get it done on most of the general stuff. What that cat wants to know, Kim is still cooking that transmission fluid. Tony wants to see that. Yeah, I'll tell you what, that's cool. I know it's been done before, but and I think that Pinto that ran a Cleveland headed 306 made 500 horsepower. Colleen says, I feel so sorry for you guys. Colleen, they sign up for that tax. New guys' guitars in here. What's going on? Richard's Racing Education. Is that what that is? I'll check it out. Transmission fluid conspiracy? Not here. Unity Motorsports Garage says, where's Cope? Haven't seen him in here. Cope had a pretty long day. He's probably resting today. J-Bo said, we used to run transmission parts through the dishwasher at the restaurant I worked at years ago. You mean, I know, I'm not even going to say. I think I know exactly what you mean. Most of the old parts is saying Frank and Scott Parks built a couple of 300 straight six engines for NHRA Comp Eliminator. They're serious engines. His Kentucky windage estimator puts about 700 horsepower. Yeah, I can see that. Yeah, I heard from him today too, Tony. He had a long day. He's probably calling her today. Cool stuff going on at the shop though. So Tall Garage Ken is here. Speaking of 306. James is not my wife's place. You know, I was thinking that. But you said years ago, so I knew it wasn't. But I was thinking it. Oh boy, most of the old parts says tomorrow is Mustang Day. More rust repair. Oh boy. Dougster Wolverine Garage is a 78 Bronco, is a good looking rig, but I prefer the Trail Duster by Plymouth. Trail Duster is cool. Yeah, Tony had a customer's dump truck needed a rear end. Woke me up at 6 a.m. and I just got home an hour ago. Tony works on that huge, heavy stuff. Twisted Mopar Garage put a transmission in with his friend this evening. Yeah. Dizzy says he is disillusioned and in denial. Okay. Nick says Cope's a gentleman, had a really pleasant time and a conversation with him. And yeah, he is. He's a good dude. He's got his way. You know, we all do. I know, Dizzy. I don't know what context that was, but it was funny. I liked it. There we go. There's the jagged edge of the sheet metal coming out. Mostly Old Parts says, who is the go-to guy for manual transmission rebuilds? I'll tell you, Mostly Old Parts. At No Name Nationals the first year, remember those wild GTXs or Roadrunners or whatever? Brewer, he had those. They're in Ohio. Those guys are the 833 guys. So um, if you need me to help you get in touch with them, I can. And of course, everyone knows about passing, but I would talk to the Brewers. Those guys build their stuff and race their stuff. They sell parts. That's who I'd talk with. Dougster Wolverine Garage has a potato. Twisted Mopar Garage has a friend in Louisville, Kentucky who will do 4-speed Mopars. Yeah, I like them. I've done the 833. I know Cope's done a bunch of 833s. Um, my friend that I did the video with over in Eastern Virginia, Hemi Stan, he's done a bunch of 833s. But I know Brewer, they do it commercially and have lots of parts and all that kind of thing. Something heavier than an 833. Well, I tell you, now I know you're all about the manual transmission and the 3-pedal, but you'd be surprised what a real manual valve body 4-speed automatic will do. I mean, one of these with that's really good high pressure with a brake and everything. But that said, I get it. Um, are you thinking about doing a 5-speed, Ron? Or are you going to keep it a 4-speed? Or when I work with my buddy Robert, we did the Ford top loaders, and I'll tell you, those are really stout. They don't have the plate with the shift forks. The forks go into the case. We made it a lot stronger, and ran that deep into the 5s and the 8th mile. Twisted Mopar is Linko be the only thing stronger. I tell you, I talk with Brewer, and they could probably tell you, um, what you can really do with the 833. Or like you said, you could go G-Force, you could go Liberty if you wanted to. I mean, Liberty is spendy. But and Professor, you know what, most of the parts you might ask Professor P. I think he has is it TK5 or TKS? I think he has that. Uh, the Tremac. Or I'll tell you, you also mostly old parts and rust. I think a T56 is not a bad way to go. I've done a T56, and you could put one in a Mopar, and they're stout and they're a pleasure to drive. Main Street Mopar's getting his rebuild kit for his 833 from Brewers. Yeah. Yeah, the 833 is strong. I don't think it's as strong as a Ford top loader. Uh, I mean, they're strong though. But yeah, the G Force, yeah, I could see that. 303 top loaders are very strong, not just Fords, but came standard in some big block BOP stuff. I never knew that. 3-speed bulletproof. Yeah, we did some 3-speed stuff too. I didn't realize you could get any of that corporate stuff. Had no idea. If you're going 1,000 to 2,000 pound-feet of torque, a T56 will blow up at 750. BNR for really most anything. T56 is a good piece. I really, for the life of me, can't really figure out why it needed those two overdrives that high, but I'm kind of the mind of they should have just maybe done 5 speeds and focused on the strength. But if you look at the cross section of the gears, that T56 it'll handle a lot of torque. It's a good piece. Jericho, Liberty. I've never worked on a Jericho. I've never really worked on a Liberty either, but just a shifter on them. Yeah, the gear jammer guys would. I'm telling you, a lot of them have gone to Liberty now, but you'd see G-Force. There's a couple of guys still in the league. I think there's 65 cars. A couple of guys in the league run a Doug Nash. Uh, it's neat when you see something different like that. Oh, and around here you have two. You've got the classic gear jammers, the stick shift championship series, and one allows a Lenco and the other doesn't. And I'm just like, I don't get that. They both leave off the clutch, and both of them can make the transmission clutchless to shift. So who cares? I don't know why that's such a big deal, but one allows it, one doesn't. I can't remember which does and which doesn't. Jenkins ran an 833 in his Pro Stock Vega. Yeah. What did that thing weigh? Square root of nothing. Top load 4-speed was longer, easy to get them mixed up. Yeah, it is. Sometimes in a purposeful way. uh, Reminds me of a story. The reason it's funny is I remember a road racer who was a customer that my friend Robert ran a 3-speed in his circle track car. The rules called for 4 forward speeds. And it looked like a 4-speed from the outside, but it was 3 forward speeds. And it was lighter and it was faster. Got away with that for a long time. 38 POS Racing's been busy with a kitchen remodel and baking up Christmas cookies. Cool. Danny Boyd says the guy I got a 302 from had a Torino GT with the 429 and Quadrajet. Colleen is clocking out. We'll see you, Colleen. Thanks for stopping by. Twisted Mopar says, as I get older, the 3-pedal car is not for me. Yeah, well, I'm good with it. I've dailied a lot of manuals and whatever. Just depends on the vehicle. In a little lightweight car, I'll tell you, I really have a hard time wanting an automatic and something like that. But 38 says there's a lot of roundy rounds during a Saginaw 3-speed there. I can see that. Most of the old part says when the Roadrunner goes on the rotisserie, it's going to lose weight. You're going to put that on a rotisserie, Ron? You're really going to do that? You're going to take that thing down to the skeleton and get weight out of it? It's wild. Nick says the first 1,000 pounds is easy. After that, you got to get creative. Yeah, Fast series. Here we come. He's going to have to take it down to the skeleton to fix the rust. Yeah, I know your car's got a pretty good amount of rust in it, but I'm glad you're enjoying it like it is. And if one year at No Name Nationals we see a dazzling show car of a Roadrunner sitting in your spot, we'll know not to have it towed. Make rust woke. I think that the whole woke movement is corrosive. Is that close enough? Yeah, mostly old parts. I hope you cover that restoration on the Roadrunner on your channel. I really want to see that. Rust never sleeps. Keep it in the dry. You can get it dormant. There's Mike Wedge, Dick Dastardly. Rich, how you doing, man? Danny Boyd says, "Go woke and go broke." There's a funny article about the Bud Light thing. Seems like every week on, on the news on my browser. Man, that'll go down as one of the worst miscalculations in marketing ever. I saw this suggestion on my mostly all parts is just had a Domino's pizza delivered. Happy birthday to me. Yeah, cool, man. I saw this YouTube suggestion for 8 highly inappropriate commercials, and one of them was for this diet candy called AIDS, AIDS, and the commercials are actually kind of hilarious to watch in context of what we know now. But that stuff came out in 1937, and so the it was somebody there in marketing said in the mid 80s said, "Let the disease change its name. We were here first." Boy, that was smart on his part. That brand evaporated. So there have been, you know, there have been some pretty big marketing blunders over the years. Dean Stevenson says, "I don't know. The Edsel was pretty bad." Yeah, yeah. The Edsel, the funny thing about the Edsel though is as time goes on, I think the Edsel just looks cooler. I like it now. It just has a certain style to it that nothing else had, and for good reason. Huh. Dizzy says one of my friends at No Name Nationals gave me a 90s Mopar factory team shirt. Very cool. Yeah, indeed. I know exactly what you're talking about. Those are good looking shirts. Mostly old parts says Bud Light originally had Spuds McKenzie. Spuds the female portrayed as, you know what? I had forgotten about that, but you're right. You're right. Yeah. Interesting. That's an interesting irony there. A Cove says the beauty of Edsel is it looks like nothing else. Yeah, it doesn't look like anything else before or after with that particular grill. Thought that was interesting. So I'll mention something real quick. Functional Histories is doing a live build Sunday at 6. So I'll just put that out there for those of you who want to see it. Functional Histories does the uh, the small scale models, Hot Wheels scale models, um, different YouTubers' cars and such. He's doing a live build at 6 p.m. Eastern time on Sunday. 38 knows where two Edsel Rangers are sitting rusting away. Yeah, I believe that. Yeah, wouldn't doubt that at all. Nick, I always thought the Edsel grill looked like a toilet seat. It just that it was weird looking, but I think it is cool, just because of the styling. Um, all of that ornate 50s stuff is pretty neat. And I'll tell you, historically, it has a place in history. We'll never have cars like that again. With all that design and curves and chrome and all that style, it was just so cool and so classy. And people were cool and classy, and they wore jackets and hats and went to the theater. And people are so slovenly today. Their houses, their dress, their cars are nothing like they were because of all this crazy, ridiculous inflation and such. It's just ridiculous. So now all cars look like toasters. Everything people eat comes out of the side of a building in a bag, and people dress in t-shirts because that's just how it is now. But from a classier time, that Edsel reflects that period in time. Well, I see we've hit the weird hour with 13 minutes to go. Edsels had the teletouch automatic in the steering wheel. I would not want that for anything, but okay. Man, where is Barrows? We're talking about Edsels and Barrows isn't here. I could see that being a car. That could be his kind of car. Nick says the Nash Metropolitan's the car we need now. Yeah, I could see that. Wouldn't it be great? Now, the regulation would never allow it. If you just started producing a car like that again, just out of the blue, simple with everything you need, nothing you don't, I think it would sell great. And yet, I'm sure our government would not allow it. They would regulate you into oblivion for trying, but it would be great. 60 Edsel was a regrilled Sunliner. Basically, yeah, but it still was different. I don't understand the whole lemon thing about it. Why would it be a lemon? I mean, it might have looked goofy, but shoot, why would it be, you know, why would it not just be any more lemony than any other Fords of the day with all their unnecessary over engineering? JB says the weird hour started at 7 Central. Well, arguably, yeah. Nick says I'd buy one now. Government regulations are looser for small production runs. True, but do you think the government would actually allow you to make a car from the 50s now? They would say it doesn't meet crash standards. They would say it doesn't meet emission standards. They would say it doesn't meet the cafe fuel standards. Blah, blah, blah. It just would. If we came back out with a Volkswagen Beetle, a real one, not that ridiculous rounded up thing they made in the 90s, but I mean a real one. Could you imagine? People would love being able to buy. What would a new Beetle, a real Beetle, cost today? A real air cooled Beetle. What would it cost today? With everything you need and nothing you don't. Kim says, could you sell one as a kit? Well, I mean, you could always build that kind of stuff and maybe, but I just don't know from a regulatory perspective if they would allow that. I don't know. Yeah, JB says the government will not allow anything old being reproduced. Yeah, I would agree with that. They would say that nothing meets, all these standards they have. A real Beetle is what the world could definitely use. A Cove, 100%. Think about it. Think about it. Let's say that a new Beetle today, so what could you make and sell one for? $20,000 the most, even with all the inflated prices of today? Probably wouldn't even be that much. Let's say that it was 15 grand new, just like they were, and you would use the latest. Yeah, they made Beetles up through 1996 in Mexico. Okay, so it would be like that, which had air conditioning, automatic, uh, but they were still air cooled. They were still the Beetle, right? You could sell those things like crazy. And the Germans also, even though they were interrupted by World War II, and if I had any idea this was going to come up, I would have it on the show to show you. In fact, somebody needs to remind me middle of the week. I'll get it out to show it on the live. I have an actual stamp book from the 40s Germany where the workers in the plant, the Spark Art stamp book where you would get stamps to pay for your Beetle if you worked there. And then when the stamp book was full, you got a new Beetle. Talk about layaway before it was a thing. You could do that now. People would love it. I'm sure now they do it digitally somehow, but I've got to do that. I have two of them. I have two of those Spark Art stamp books. BNRC and EV is dead all over YouTube. Back to gasoline diesels. Nah, the EV thing is still, but it's let everybody else fight it out and go through all those problems. I have no interest in being there first or anything. Mexican specs said the new air cooled Beetle was about 5,000 in 2003, right? So that means let's just call it $10,000 today. Let's call it 10,000 today. But see, now remember, that's Mexican, down there you could do that. Here you couldn't do it. But let's just call it 10,000. There you go, $10,000. The Super Beetle at the McPherson strut. Yeah, but we're just talking theoretically here, Ron. You could also do the beam and not do the torsion bars instead of that. I'm not saying it had to be the Super Beetle, which for me it wouldn't be. I think my favorite year Beetle is probably 62. It was the first year with a gas gauge. Still had the Wolfsburg badge. The last year for the Wolfsburg badge on the trunk lid. 62. And it still had the small glass. Andy said, here's an interesting bit. Well, if Andy says something interesting is coming, buckle your seatbelts. Yeah, Dizzy Izzy said the story on the stamp books was that most never got their cars. Dizzy, I don't know if anybody got their cars. The British bombed that factory, and I don't know if any. I don't think anybody ever redeemed one. But I have two books with canceled stamps in them. A couple of poor German people were working the deal. Most steel parts is link pin suspension for the win. Yes. Mexican specs of the Mexican Beetle all the way through 2003 was a 68 model. Oh, they made lots of little changes. That Mexican Beetle had lots of little changes. It had a dash in it. It was, but it was still a real Beetle. It was still a real Beetle. And they did fuel injection. That is all. Yep. Oh, that's right. Yep. They actually went to fuel injection in America, I think, in 75. So Mexico, they didn't do it till 94. Andy says Freightliner is going to build a gasoline powered truck to get around all the diesel regulations. Isn't that interesting? Kim fixes things, says I wouldn't want to drive a Beetle on the interstate highways. You need to be able to go 75 or die trying. wouldn't necessarily agree with that, but I'll say a Beetle to 75 is not as big a deal as you think. Not with what we have for power and all that today. I don't think that would be too hard to do. Used to call it the freeway flyer. You would use the later transaxle was a 388 ring gear, and it would get a lot of speed. The early ones had a lot of gear in them. I mean, like 437 or 412. The later ones were 388. Now, you can't just get rid of all of the final drive ratio in a Beetle because you got to be able to turn the fan fast enough to cool the engine. And the fan runs off the back of the generator. So, yeah, Dizzy, if I don't forget, somebody reminds me, I'll get those books out because it is really cool. They're museum stuff. VW put fuel injection in a long time ago. Yeah, 75 was the first year in the United States, I believe. Mexican spec says they went to it in 94 in Mexico. But yeah, I think 68 was their first year for that hybrid auto stick deal, which I've never driven. Most of the old parts says my 66 bug had 437. Yes, that's pretty late for it. I think by 67 they all had 412. I could be off on that. But your 66 also would have been the swing axle, because I don't think any of the independent rear suspensions had that much gear. So yeah, 66, good. Those are good years. Those cars, real good years. Like I said, I think my favorite year is 62. But 66 is a good looking year. Still had the glass lens over the headlight. Still had the overriders on the bumpers in 66. So still 66 still had push button door handles. Probably some of the biggest styling changes on the Beetle were from 66. A lot of one-year only stuff in 67, then 68. That was probably 2 big years where things changed. The bus had a taller fourth gear. The bus also had reduction boxes that lifted the bus up 3 inches too. So you get out to the wheels, it had a set of gears out there, reduction gears. Mexican spec, I don't know either. I've never driven one. Yeah, I wouldn't doubt there weren't any in your market. Well, been a fun live. Got just a couple minutes left. I believe Tony's Hot Rod Garage is going live here after me here in 2 minutes. So I remember any last minute stuff. Don't forget this Wednesday. You should be getting an update from Professor P on all of the new things on the PRI, the new innovations and such. So that should be the topic on the Wednesday night live. I'm going to be having a couple more freestyle like this, but we're going to be announcing the dates and some specifics for, again, we have our regular approximately New Year's Eve live. Should be the 29th of December at the regular time. We'll be announcing for the No Name Nationals, and that'll be a good time. So just wanted to give you guys that before we got out of here. But most of the old parts says 66 had a 1300cc engine. Yes, yes. Had cam bearings, and you could put the larger cylinders in it. Yep, indeed. First car Dizzy drove was a 68 4-speed bug wagon. So what is that, like a Type 3? Yep, Turbo Tom's headed over there. I'm going to wrap it up right now. I will see you guys over there on Tony's Hot Rod Garage. He'll be live here. He's in here, so he'll be ready, but we'll go live here in just a few minutes. Ronnie was looking forward to the announcement. Me too. So in 3 weeks, actually, we're getting close. So now I can say it's going to be 3 weeks minus. Uh-oh, you guys are in trouble now. It'll be 502 hours. We have a number on the orange paper. There you go. All right, guys, we are out. You guys have a great weekend. See you over at Tony's here in a few minutes, and take care.